Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Free League Twitch channel. We're telling tales, and we're here to tell you a tale of Symbaroum, specifically our ongoing main campaign spin-off Fetters of Stone, which entails a group of sellswords and treasure seekers going to a ruined prison in the middle of the dark forest of Davokar and, well, not having a terribly good time of it so far. Like all classic Symbaroum, just traumatizing thoroughly. Before we go any further and before I do our promo or start inviting players onto the stream, first of all, I'd like to note my cat, because this is the internet, so that means, you know, stay and watch, right? It's got a cat, maybe, sometimes. But before that, let's bring on our stream manager, Steve, just in case you see him pop up and get alarmed that some kind of elite hacker has made their way into this stream. It's not, it's just Steve, and it just means something's gone horribly wrong. Steve tinkers around in the background, moving around pictures and art and sorting chat and stuff like that. Hi, Steve. How are you this wonderful Sunday?
I'm fine, thanks. I don't have a cat, sadly, so...
No, but you can look at this one.
Yeah.
There. No, that I can't. I mirror images do not. I can't. It's just no. I'm here to tell stories, Steve, not to calculate space and time.
Yeah.
So that's Steve. Thanks. So as I mentioned already, we're telling tales. We have our own Twitch channel and YouTube and stuff like that. We do lots of different stuff. And if you look around, you can find us quite easily on Twitch and YouTube at Telling Tales RP. And we have all the usual social media and Discord and Patreon. You know the deal. And we run 3 weekly streams. And we're actually having quite a big week this week as our Call of Cthulhu stream is returning on Mondays. We've got Blades in the Dark on Tuesdays. And Wednesday sees the return of our Symbaroum campaign, which is kind of our flagship thing. And that's coming back on Wednesday, so that's nice. Also, we have monthly one-shots on the first Saturday of every month. And if you're clever, you'll realize that means that this coming Saturday is one of them, where we'll be running another Free League system. We'll be running the new One Ring. The Alpha Edition has been released for the Kickstarter. And yeah, we're going to be running that. And it's going to be a story I've adapted from one of my favorite games of all time, Lord of the Rings Online. So that's going to be good fun. That'll be over on our channel this coming Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon BST or 10 o'clock in the morning EST or any number of other time zones. Yeah, I think that's all my usual promo. If you want to watch any of our stuff, check out Twitch. Go over to YouTube. There's like hundreds of VODs there. Yeah, that's about it. But that's enough promo from me. Why don't we start introducing the players and getting on with our next episode of Fetters of Stone? So first off, let's bring on Elle. Elle plays Fria, the abducted human, kind of released by the elves for an unknown reason, and now on this expedition with your... did we say... Is he actually your brother, Oral, or is he just like...
I think we decided he is just like a brother figure.
Yeah, not like your actual brother. He was also abducted by the elves, and now yeah. But Farah had a fun time of it at the start of the session last week, as people went their separate ways to sort of explore this ruin that you finally arrived at. Why don't you tell us how we kicked off last week?
I will do. So yes, we all decided to explore the ruins that we'd come into. There was various different kind of entrance ways in it. So I went one way with Sir Exatio and a few goblins, and the others went another way. And kind of went in this room, and there was immediately pretty much a staircase, which we started to descend. And Farah injured herself by stepping on what turned out to be some sort of ancient voodoo doll. Not that she knows what a voodoo doll is, but it was in fact a doll with lots of like pins sticking in it or something, was it? Or
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's not like explicit that that's the purpose of it, but it certainly looks like it to like our
yes.
Yeah.
So Farah stepped on this, cursed a little bit, got very angry at the clearly haunted doll, and did what any sensible person would do and just threw it away immediately. And then there wasn't really much time to do anything else, because we heard the sounds of combat and some wailing coming from upstairs, and ran upstairs and everyone was fighting cats.
Yeah,
like
there
the
were
big angry kind, not like
big,
the kind in the stream.
No, big angry kinds of cats, including at least one that could certainly qualify to be called a vampire cat of some kind. Said cats were dealt with, and then the group kind of all got together and decided to investigate down these stairs. And to tell us what happened down there, let's bring on the next player. Let's bring on Alex, who plays Vardamar, a wandering barbarian mystic. And Alex, why don't you tell us what you found down those stairs?
So those stairs led into this vastly underused set of hallways and chambers there, along which there were these two sort of gutter type things running near the ceilings on either side, which after some very dangerous flammable things, please don't set things on fire, kids, we found out those were effectively torchways which lit the way down. So there was a main pathway leading down with many branches off, but it readily became apparent as we were sort of making our way through it that either through magical or just our lack of orienteering skills, it quickly led us to get lost down there in this labyrinth. And so even backtracking, we lost track of the chalk marks that we'd made to try and find our way through, and got turned around many a time until after some faffing, we found our way to this sort of vast chamber, which looked like the root of where that monolith was set into stone, and it was chained with some fetters, which were locked into the stone itself there. And we were joined by Gideon, who gave us a telling off for even getting weirded out by it all, which we all were at that point.
Absolutely, you're right, and I hadn't really thought about it, but I suppose those are some kind of fetters of stone, aren't they?
One might say.
One might indeed say that. So, yeah, you found this mysterious chamber, various odd things happening there, and Gideon sent you out from the labyrinth, which was a lot easier to navigate out when you went out, simply by following one path all the way around. Whether that's the actual solution or just, who knows? The whole place is a mystery. And then you headed out to the rest of the ruins again, and there were still some doorways to explore. So to talk about what we found in some of those, why do we bring on our next player, John, who plays Arin, the kind of disinherited son of a noble line of Ambria, now turned duelist and treasure hunter. And yeah, John, why don't you tell us what you found in some of the doorways on the northern wall, I believe?
Yes. We more or less just found a staircase that went straight up and led to like the very top of the walls and the ramparts, which seemed to lead all the way around, but there wasn't really anything there, apart from right by the exit where there was a big, was it a copper drum?
I believe it's a steel drum.
That was it. With what looked like what had been markings that have since been attempted to be removed.
That's right, yeah.
And after a little bit of looking at it and trying to find out what was going on, it seemed like it was meant to be played facing out of the building, which confused us slightly further. But it's not the weirdest thing we found here, so...
Nope. And everyone resisted the urge to actually play the damn thing, and then headed back down to the main part of the ruin and into the final doorways leading on the west wall, I think. And to talk us through them, let's bring on Chris. Chris plays Gara, one of the remaining members of the Varaguldru tribe, their kind of scout and explorer. Chris, hi. Tell us about the last bit of the ruin to be explored.
Yeah, so we found ourselves in... These seem to be kind of surface level, if not cells and administration buildings right the way around in various states of disrepair. This one was a series of empty chambers off a corridor, but it quickly became apparent that the structure was not entirely stable. So myself and Shuglud, being fleet of foot and light, decided to very gingerly check as many rooms as we could to verify they were empty. And alas, we found 2 out of 3, I believe, of the chambers were devoid of anything.
Yeah, you got almost to the last chamber.
At which point, fate and gravity conspired to nearly kill us, and fortunately, we both managed to duck out as the structure collapsed behind us. So
absolutely, making that west wall pretty much a write-off. Like, it would take weeks and a lot of labor to extract all the stone from there. So probably not going back in there again. And then this was kind of later in the day now, later in the day, in your first full day in the ruin, I think I'm right in saying. As the group went back to camp, it's fair to say that tensions were starting to run slightly high, and jimmies were being rustled. I think that's a fair analysis of the situation. And to talk about that and what happened overnight in your first night in the ruins, let's bring on our final player, Sam, who I can see visually was very delighted by phrasing there. Sam plays Shuglud, the one of the other surviving members of the Varaguldru tribe. They're kind of sort of chieftain, or what passes for a chieftain, and quite a vicious guy with those two swords, let me tell you. Yeah, why don't you lead us through it, Sam?
Yeah, we kind of got back to camp and everyone was trying to wind down a bit. I think it was Vardamar who saw a kind of confrontation between Iasa, who's like an axeman, and Vlador, who is a dwarf. And I think up until now, we haven't really been that clear exactly what Vlador is doing here, really. But he mentioned, he also called him by a name which Vladimir didn't recognize, but wasn't Vlador, which is the name we all know him as. They were having kind of a bit of an argument, but Vlador didn't seem particularly concerned. It was mostly Yasa who was kind of annoyed at him. And I think after that, Vladimir came to our kind of half of the encampment, which is just outside the walls, where I think all the party is staying now, as opposed to like most of the NPCs staying inside. And he mentioned the name, and I think Aaron recognized it as the name of a kind of dwarf crime family from the capital of Ambria. And obviously that was kind of concerning for everyone. We didn't seems to change the kind of power balance in the expedition a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's revealed as Vlador Moretko, and the Moretko are as you say, an organization of kind of an organized crime family of dwarves in Indaros, and up until now, the leader has been Mariol Kohinoor, and the Kohinoors are literally the ruling family of Ambria. So there's some kind of dodgy power dynamic going on here. Absolutely, as you said. And then the night went without any incident at all, so I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, I think at some point as well, Aaron got like threatened to be killed by Vlador Moretko, which
I think he basically just told him to mind his own business.
And then as we were going to sleep, I think Alfborg, one of the few remaining Varaguldru, said that he would keep an eye on Vlador, and that he was taking watch, and that's what he said. We all went to sleep, and when we woke up, Alfborg is missing.
Absolutely, and this is the second time a member of the Varaguldru has gone missing over the night. The last time in the forest on the way here, and poor character whose name I can't remember, poor Foza, never reappeared after that, and was presumably lost to the forest. So this doesn't bode well. Yeah, so we're going to pick up exactly where we left off. Everyone is kind of slowly rousing themselves from sleep. And yeah, I think Sam should probably take the lead here, because I believe Sam was the person to notice it.
I think first thing,
Chris.
I'm not sure, but I think I definitely talked to Gara first. Gara, have you seen Alfborg? I can't. He's supposed to be on watch, but I can't see him anywhere.
Oh, was he? He was last watch of you. Oh, maybe he's just fallen asleep. I'll go and do a kind of cursory search on the foresty side of the things.
Yeah, maybe do a leap around the structure, see if he's just patrolling somewhere or something. I don't not expecting to find anything, but
sure, absolutely. Well, why don't you? Is it the two of you doing this, or are you rousing any other? Like, are you rousing the other remaining Varaguldru Ull?
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah, but none of the non-goblins.
Not yet.
Okay. Well then, between the two of you, why don't you both give me a vigilant roll? I think that's reasonable, as to see if you can find anything.
Needed a 10, got a 17.
I need a 7. I got a 20.
That's not a 7. So no, neither of you find kind of any trace of Alfbolg or, any indicator as to where he might have gone.
Going back to Grad, he said he was going to keep an eye on that dwarf. Now he's gone.
We don't like it. Then we know that dwarf's got a attitude problem for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we've raised the others. Bring it to the boss lady.
Yeah.
Okay, I think at this point we can probably move forward to everyone being awake. And kind of maybe you're all sat around at this camp outside the walls, and you, Mariol and the Arso, are kind of walking over towards you because you've called them over or some such, and Mariol is kind of rubbing sleep out of her eyes and looking around and saying, "What's going on? Everything all right?"
No, Alfbolg, he's missing. He was on watch.
The big one.
That's right.
I forgive me. I suppose I have to ask at this point: is there any reason why you might imagine any members of your tribe would?
We fight together. We intend to die together.
Right. I suppose. Have you searched the ruin?
Not the insides or underneath, but.
All right. Well, let's do that then.
Okay. I don't think he would have gone down there of his own accord, but maybe something took him there. We can look. All
right. She kind of calls over to the others who haven't kind of wandered over to where you are. Elmea, the barbarian scout, and the dwarf comes over as well, as does Gedeon, and she instructs everyone to kind of split up into groups and go look, in different areas. And conveniently, she puts all 5 of you in one group together because helps, doesn't it? She in fact asks you, Shuglud, you and Gara are members of the Varaguldru. She asks you where you want to look.
I think in Goblin, I'd say to Gara, where do you think is most likely? Probably underneath.
Underneath or up above. We might get a better view of the forest as well. Maybe see something we haven't if we get to the top.
That's true. We can keep an eye on everything.
Besides, we've business underneath later today, so we'll find or not find him regardless.
Okay. I'll say in Ambrian, I guess. We'd like to look up on top of the wall.
She nods and sends other people off to various places. And yeah, the group of the 5 of you head over to the northern wall. And you know what? We've got a lovely map that John has updated that Steve can pop up for us to show us the layout of the interior. There we go. So yeah, that east is where you came in. And there's like different doors leading to different places. And I've only just noticed the little cat face for where the meerkats were.
Yeah, that got me as well.
The collapsed on the west. Is that like a little labyrinth, John?
Because it's the concentric circles.
Yes, absolutely. And then the drum on the north. Lovely. So yeah, you take that north spiral staircase leading up. Cool. Thanks, Steve. Don't need that. Yeah, you head up to the ramparts at the top. There's no sign of Alfbolg or anyone else up here. It's at exactly the way you left it yesterday. But I'm more than happy for everyone to make additional kind of vigilant rolls for looking out over the ruins, over the forest, to see if they can see any sign of things.
Did everyone go together to the same place?
Yeah. The 5 of you are on the ramparts, but other people have gone, in different directions.
I'll definitely look for any signs of disturbance on the kind of whatever passes for an horizon in Davokar.
Sure.
I did a vigilant roll and got a 3.
Ooh.
Got a 6.
Mine was less auspicious.
We're all eagle-eyed today.
Sure.
As expected, I think.
And you will be especially rewarded for it by me saying no one sees anything, but people who succeeded can be sure that it's not because they missed something. So you're fairly sure that nothing has changed in the forest or the ruins from yesterday from what you can see from the top. The people who failed are a bit uncertain.
Well, I mean, that only leaves down below, I guess. We were going to go there anyway. I'd say since all the weird stuff's happening down there, it makes sense that could be where both he and Fossa ended up.
I think at this point, I'll say that obviously, of the other places that can be investigated, I think the main one would be the Meerkat, the passageway with the Meerkats in and beneath. And I think Mariel would have sent one of the groups down into the labyrinth below. So at this point, I'm going to say that you hear a strong, powerful voice, Serix Atio's voice, calling from the entranceway down to the labyrinth. You just hear him kind of he steps out. Maybe a couple of you even see him kind of step out and kind of blink slightly in the light before looking up towards the ramparts and calling, "Varagaldru!"
I think I'll take that opportunity to start running down the stairs rather than just...
Yeah, I'll follow.
Okay. I take it the 3 non-goblins are also doing the same.
Correct.
As you are, it isn't far, obviously, from where you are to the entrance down into the labyrinth, and as you approach, Serix has quite a grim look on his face. And Gary, you said that you were running. Maybe others are as well, but I'd say that you're probably in the lead, right? Let's say that. And as you kind of dash towards where he stood, Serix kind of holds his hand out to you to kind of bring you to a slow and says, "No need for haste."
What was it?
Maybe others can say. You should come down and see.
Dark days.
He's still in his full armor, by the way. He hasn't changed out of it since arriving in the ruins, and the odor of alcohol is slowly kind of peeling off him. He doesn't quite smell as boozy anymore since he threw the contents of his flask away yesterday. And he leads you all down that kind of circling staircase with a slow trudge. And then onwards, you can hear kind of murmuring voices. Just sort of, they sound, the acoustics in these tunnels are odd. These long curving tunnels with the almost spider web like roots coming down from above, and the guttering flames on either side of the packed earth tunnels. And he kind of just leads round more or less in a straight line and curves round. And ahead of you, you can see essentially a good few people. Who else will have been in the search group? Let's say Serix and Iarso and Mariol and Ull. Let's say it was them. Oh, and Gedeon. let's say it was them, and they're all kind of stood round. Well, the humans are kind of stood round in a group, kind of looking down grimly and looking vaguely, I suppose embarrassed isn't the right word, but kind of uncomfortable. And Ull, the weapon master of the Varagulja, is kind of knelt next to Alfbolg, kind of one hand on what is evidently his body, and sort of he looks like he is doing everything except the tears part of weeping. If you get me, he is clearly grieving deeply, but holding much of it in. And Alfbolg is there, his heavily muscled body lying somewhat contorted on the ground, his face a kind of, goblin flesh is kind of mottled anyway, all sorts of different colors like browns, dark reds and greens, and even blues and grays. But his face is the kind of dark black and brown you would associate in both humans and goblins with having asphyxiated in some way. His eyes are kind of bulging out, his tongue slightly protrudes, and scattered on the floor of the earthen tunnel are his weapons, which look unbloodied.
Would I possibly be able to kneel down and do a medicus check to see if I could get a more concrete certain idea of how they died? I mean, Alfbolg's pretty certain, but is Foster there as well, or was it just Alfbolg?
Well, Foster's the one who disappeared in the forest, but Ull is the one who's alive, and Alfbolg is the one who's dead. But yeah,
I'd like to just be certain. So if I could, well, I say I'd like to be certain. It all depends on the roll.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be a cunning roll.
Cunning.
And you know what? I think this is. I'm going to put a -2 on it. I think, because I think you have medicus, but also you're not a coroner,
no.
And also the light in here isn't particularly good. And while you do that, reactions from others. I'm specifically, Shuglud and Gara here.
In Goblin, I'll be like to kind of both of the goblins that at least he had his blades with him.
Still, not a good way.
No way to die.
Not in these tunnels.
Ull kind of looks up at both of you, and he has his hand on the twin axes on his belt, and he just says, "In Goblin, someone will die for this."
The dwarf.
As you say that, you hear the other group approaching and coming down the tunnels and coming around. So now everyone is here, including Vlador, and they kind of round and kind of look up and kind of look over with a mix of, again, uncomfortableness and curiosity. So everyone is down here in the tunnels now. Kind of, it's quite packed standing here. Elle, how did you do with that cunning?
Needed a 7, got a 3 again. So
okay, yeah, he's definitely been strangled in some fashion. That it strikes you the notion that someone could in some way asphyxiate. Humans are bigger than goblins, but this goblin was, really very strong, very powerful looking. It would take a lot of strength to do this.
So I'll just stand up and just relay this information to everyone else and just say, definitely strangled, whatever it is. Very strong. And I'll, say to Gara and Shuglud, you know Alfbolg best. He was strong, even by goblin standards, and yeah, I wouldn't want to run into what did this to him.
Thank you.
In Goblin again, I'll say we should get him out of these tunnels. At least if it comes to combat, we'll have more space. I think if we're taking this further, we're going to want room on our side.
That's true. Can't leave him here anyway. think I'll go to pick up his body.
Vardamar, you look like you're about to say something.
I'm just wondering whether or not this is where he was strangled, or whether this is where he was brought after he was strangled.
Elmaya kind of leans around the group and says, either way, why here? Serek Zatio, who's been kind of looming over and was like watching over Ferrer as you were examining him, says, a garrote can help with strangling a strong man. There's a pause, and Vlador says, wasn't a garrote.
What makes you say that?
Because I know what it looks like when you use a garrote. There's more blood.
As cheerful as that is to know, was it hands then?
There's lots of ways you can strangle someone.
Has he been looking, he or Gideon or anyone else who's been acting dodgy, have they been reacting to this the way the rest of the crew has?
Oh, I think that's going to be a roll, right? I think to kind of pick up on anything like that. If anyone wants to kind of have been sort of seeing people's reactions to things or anything like that, why don't you give me a vigilant roll at -1?
Okay.
I think I'd have been too busy studying the body, so...
That's fair. That's fair.
That is lucky. That's a 5, so that passes.
Okay.
I'm going to be specifically looking at Iaso and noticing absolutely nothing.
Because, of course, Alfborg and Iaso fought on their way to the ruins. So you failed then, John, did you say?
I rolled a 19. So
Alex succeeded. So there is definitely a varying amount of shock. Which honestly you'd say is, well, you know what, I can give you some information, but also let's think about what conclusions you might draw from it. So while you've passed that, also why don't you also give me a cunning roll, and I'll kind of balance how I deliver the information based on that.
No minuses on that?
No minuses.
All right. Needed a 13, got a 13. Okay.
There's a definite marked kind of difference in how people react to it. And at first, this kind of like makes you suspicious. And then you honestly realize it's basically along the lines of who has seen more bodies.
Okay.
Because Serex, Iaso, Vlador, they don't seem very kind of jarred by it at all. But they all, to one degree or another, kill people for a living. So perhaps it's just to do with that rather than anything else. But they're definitely treating it in a very matter-of-fact way, as opposed to, And most of the others are just varied, kind of like some mild shock for some people, some uncomfortableness. Gideon doesn't seem to be reacting particularly, but then he hasn't reacted particularly to most things on the way through the expedition other than the monoliths. So, there's no reactions you might not expect, if that makes sense.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Nothing out of the ordinary there. All right. But no way to tell if he was brought here or why that might be then. All right.
People could try and examine the floors of the tunnels, I suppose, but 13 people have just tramped through them, so
sure.
Says Elmaya rather than the games master, shall we say.
I suppose it'll be 3 goblins now lifting Ulf to get him out of the tunnel.
And if that's the case, I think they need to roll strong because Alfborg is a heavy goblin.
Okay.
We'll say that Ull succeeded, and we'll say that we need 2 out of 3 to succeed to carry him successfully without needing help. I
made it.
Okay. That's enough then. Between the 3 of you, you 2 and Ull, you lift Alfborg up. Serex kind of leans down and picks up his axe and kind of holds it in front of him gently. And the 3 of you, the 3 of you and Serex kind of start walking to leave. No one else seems to be following you for now, and it's up to you guys whether you do as well. But Mariel kind of looks round as the Varaguldru and Serex head off with the body of Alfbolg and says, "Well, is there someone or something here with us, or are we concerned that this may be someone within our ranks? These goblins just keep vanishing. For all we know, that other one's body is out there in Davokar, strangled."
Well, I trust everyone in our immediate party to some extent, and I say this, and I'll kind of look at, Aaron and Vardamar. That's about it. I'll say I see no reason to sow seeds of doubt within our own party until something else happens. Then I think we should just not think about it and do the job that we came here to do.
Any reaction from Aaron or Vardamar on this?
We've explored the top side. There couldn't have been anywhere for anyone else to be hiding unless they're down in here or in the forest.
Elmea shrugs and says, "There are so many places to hide in the forest."
But Ulfbog,
I think unless
came down
Sorry,
here
go.
for a reason, presumably.
Elmea kind of indicates towards Vardamar and says, "If he came down here at all." It was Vardamar who suggested whether he'd been killed somewhere else, right? I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe slightly losing Alex. No, there he is. It's all good. Okay. Mariol sort of shrugs and says, "Well, either way, I think no one should go anywhere alone. We should only
Agreed.
travel around the ruin in pairs or more, and perhaps the ruins need to be just thoroughly searched and reinvestigated thoroughly." And she kind of looks a bit lost at this point and glances at Elmea, who says, "1 kilometer outside in every direction. We can patrol the whole way round."
if we're spending time
makes sense.
doing, sorry, go on.
No. That's it. That's all I had to add.
If we're spending this time patrolling and searching the ruins and all this effort to hunt down if anyone from outside these ranks is to blame here, it still is costing us more and more time that we have to stay here, not looking for what we came here to do and being more and more exposed every single hour. Are you sure there's nothing more you can give us about what we're here to find, such that we could find it and leave as quickly as possible?
Gideon says, "I will continue my work. There may be an opportunity for someone to aid me at some point."
You have no estimate as to how long that might be, though.
I am but a simple wandering scholar, as are you.
Well, 1 out of 3 isn't entirely bad. Mariel, might I also suggest that we double watches as well? No one should be watching overnight on their own.
She nods and says, yes, of course. I think we had 2 people per watch, but perhaps 3. 3 people per watch overnight. And no one go anywhere alone.
Does that include your lore master?
Yes. She looks around. He's already gone. Well, I will. Myself and Iarso will be near the top of the stairs, and I will send someone down to him later. He can be objectionable if company is foisted upon him.
It would be
rather objectionable than dead.
It would be a terrible shame to lose him on this expedition. Truly awful. So I think it'd be best that he be escorted.
Yes, I will. I will sort something out soon, but clearly no one will get past myself and Yarso. So we will keep guard on the doorway for him, and I will talk to him later. I'm not so sure he would agree about better off in company than dead. But otherwise, yes, I will leave it. I will leave it to Elmea and you others to organise this search and investigation. And I suppose we better go up now and check on the other goblins.
We should give them time to do what they need to do before we pull them into the search, I think.
Absolutely. So the general group just starts kind of tramping back towards those stairs and off and out. And while we do so, let's have one of these lovely things where I roll a die and weird stuff happens. Okay. And then there's 3 of you, isn't there, down there now? So let's do something random. Okay. Elle, you and Aurel are like, you're kind of walking at the back of the group as you go around and kind of walk. And people are kind of murmuring and talking in front of you. But then you just kind of slowly become aware. It's like it's happening for a while before you really realize it's not quite right. You hear voices, other voices, talking behind you further down the tunnels from where you've come. Quite calm, like, calm, normal voices, but kind of murmuring. When you can't kind of quite hear what people are saying, you're just aware that voices are happening. And they seem calm, and they seem to be talking in a language you do not understand.
So I'd like to do a quick glance around, see if it looks like anyone else can hear what I'm hearing.
No one can hear. And kind of Aurel is next to you, and Aurel is just kind of like walking forward, kind of head down, like clearly quite affected by what he's just seen, but he doesn't seem to be registering anything. And on your look around as well, you can fully verify there doesn't seem to be anything in the tunnel behind you.
Okay. Is it so tunnel behind me? Is it like fairly impenetrably dark looking, or is there?
No, it's all lit up with the flames. It just looks empty.
Gonna send a quick mind link over to Aurel and ask him, like, can you hear that? You seem to be sensitive to these things.
He glances over at you and kind of brought out of his slight reverie and says, "Can I hear what?" And as he says that, the voices, I would describe it as that they dissipate. They kind of seem to drift away almost on a wind. And then you're just stood in a tunnel with the other group kind of walking a bit further ahead of you now. And you really could not say whether you imagined it or not.
Okay, I'm going to keep it to myself and Aurel for now. Less attention drawn to me, the better. And I'm going to kind of catch up with the group, because I imagine I stopped a little bit. And I'm going to kind of keep a little bit closer to Vardamar, because he seems to be very in tune with magic. Yes, attuned to magical things. So I'm gonna see if anything happens while I'm around him.
Absolutely. Well, in the meantime, you know what? I'm just going to shuffle cameras around a bit here, because I find it weirdly convenient for my brain to have the 2 goblins on the same line. Just because we're switching scenes now as well, right? So let's cut to the out in the ruins. Where you're carrying, you've carried Alfbolg's body out. Serix is kind of just behind you. What are you intending to do with it? I mean, you burned Rosti.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what Ambrians tend to do because of Prios, the sun god. But like, I'm not sure what goblins really do. But you certainly burned Rosti, so perhaps. I mean, you've never known a place without Ambrians because goblins. No goblin lives longer than the Ambrians have been here. So,
I think also, even if we did sometimes bury people, we probably wouldn't want to bury anyone near this place.
Sure.
I'll just kind of I'll talk over it in Goblin and go, I should burn him tonight. I wouldn't want to intern anyone on this cursed ground.
Yeah, I agree. This is not a place to rest. Should be burnt as soon as we can.
I was hoping that our final journey together would be less filled with cowardice and intrigue and more filled with bloodshed and glory.
I agree.
What are we doing? Serex looks confused and talking. He does not speak Goblin.
We burn him tonight, Serex.
All right. Shall we take him to the camp then? We can roll him up in a bedroll. Stop anything getting to him.
Yeah.
That
You
sounds
still have
good.
his weapons?
I have it. Like, hefts the axe.
God. I should carry it.
Take it. I'll help you carry it.
with difficulty.
Yeah, it's a big axe, yeah.
Yeah.
Serex kind of steps in and takes the rest of Alfbold's weight and sort of walks to, or kind of, you as a group, you start walking towards that camp on the outside of the walls. And as you do so, why don't both of you give another vigilant roll? It's just all the vigilant rolls today.
Okay. Nope.
10 with 17 required.
Well then, Gary, you are the first person to note that on everyone's bedroll, every single person's in the other camp and yours seems to have been placed a small item.
Ooh.
Different small items. Shall I tell you, because you're likely to first notice it on yours, I guess, right? Or at least you'll be kind of like paying more attention to that. So why don't I tell you what's on yours? How about we start that way? On yours is a small clay vase with handles that look like they've been crafted to look like leaf-clad branches. It is undoubtedly old. Probably fetch a decent price in Antiques Plaza in Thistlehold.
What is this? I'm not in the mood for jokes or gifts.
Serex is kind of looking around and says, "There's one on everyone's." They are all different, though. They're different small items.
Is this weregeld for Oathbolg? Is this blood money? Are we being paid back?
Serex kind of like bends over and is kind of looking at another kind of trinket that is on his, and just he looks absolutely mystified and is just kind of looking around and says, "We were all down in the tunnels,
But only for a few minutes. Who's done this?
Where did it come from? We haven't found anything like this here."
It's not the elves. The elves send arrows.
Shugled, would you like to know what's on your bedroll?
Yep.
Yeah. I would be surprised, to be fair, if I asked that question and anyone went, no, don't care. What is on your Shugled is what appears to be kind of, and when I say part of, it's like a chunk of it and the rest of it is broken away at some point over time. It's a kind of about that big, and it's part of like a marble frieze that seems to be portraying a cape-clad woman battling some kind of two-headed abomination. And again, it seems a very old, probably Symbaric artifact that some scholar or curiosity collector or authority would probably pay decent enough money for.
But the scene doesn't like ring any bells to me, or
it doesn't seem to have any relevance to this story or things you know about. No.
What is on Ulfbog's bedroll?
Alfbolg's bedroll is empty.
Ulfbog's empty. Look. Nothing on Ulfbog's. This was payment.
at least whatever did this knows Alfbog is dead.
This is the payment.
I think that the other party will be arriving around now. So before, like, you know, we can have a discussion about exactly what's going on and, like, you know, react to this. Would other people like to know what is on their bedroll?
Yes.
I was waiting for someone to just spike me to go. There we go.
There we go. It was always going to be me. Yes, of course. I want to know what's on my bedroll.
Well, John,
unless it is in
what's
fact
on
a
yours?
mint.
Well, Elle, you're finding out last for being so cruel to me there. So, John, what is on yours is a urn of gold as large as a human head. It's fairly plain, but it seems to be made of gold. So it's probably, you know, worth some money. Alex, on yours is a bowl of red clay with paintings portraying what seem to be blacksmiths and sorcerers. And Elle, on yours is a hammer with a shaft made from beautifully carved bone. The head has been painted red and is shaped like a grinning troll skull. Not like a big war hammer, more like, you know, a hammer. Everyone looks very confused.
Did Aurel have anything?
Yes. Don't. Oh God, I can tell you what's on Aurel. Don't please. No one say what's on everyone's, because the very fact that I'm about to roll for it should tell you that these are not chickens in cages.
But are they wild geese?
Well, are they? No,
does anyone have a wild goose on their bedroll?
Although, you know what? Nah. That's, oh my... I literally just rolled 99 twice in a row.
Great.
On a D100. John, can you quickly calculate the chances of that?
A specifically familiar-looking copper crown, perhaps?
Oh, God, no, please.
That would be
I'm so done
fantastic.
with
that. On Aurel's bedroll is a small chest that seems to contain flasks made of crystal, which in turn seem to contain dried up elixirs of unknown origin and nature. But they're all kind of dusty. You don't think they're good anymore.
Is there anyone else who seems to not have one?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, so what is everyone else's?
Fuck off. Oh. Sorry, meant to be PG-13. You can get away with one of them in PG-13, right?
There we go. That's our one.
I think that is the rule, technically speaking. So,
0.01% chance of rolling 99 twice in a row.
1 in 1,000.
So it must have some plot significance.
Yeah.
We Gareth's pretty fuming at the minute, but I don't. What? He wasn't killed by one of the party members. There's no point in executing the dwarf for the fun of it.
Yeah, no, that. Just because someone's left all this stuff. The dwarf knew a lot about.
This is payment for Alfbog. Whatever is in that stone or whatever is stalking us around these forests or whatever took Fosa has paid us well for the blood of our kind.
Why has it paid all the others?
Maybe it
None of
doesn't
them
know.
cared about Alfbog.
It could be a sort of warning.
Are you having this discussion in Goblin, or?
I think I'm in no mood for Ambrin at the minute.
Yeah.
As you are having this discussion, Mariol has kind of thrown her hands in the air and is just saying, is this something normal to expect? She kind of glances over at Elmea, and Elmea, who's quite pale, is just shakes her head. She has no idea what's going on.
I'll just kind of pipe up and say it could be a bribe, a warning of sorts. Take these and leave the area. That's how I'd interpret it.
I'll go over, I suppose, to Elle and go, do you want to know what was on Ulfbulg's bedroll?
What?
Nothing. It's blood money. These are payments.
I'm sorry, I just don't know. She shrugs. Mariol kind of throws her hands up in the air and says, well, I'll not have confounded spirits trying to bribe or pay us off. We came here for a purpose. The purpose is still here. I am sorry that a member of the Varaguldru has lost their life, but we knew these dangers, and that's why we brought sellswords. We move around in pairs. No one gets left alone. 3 people on watch. And if there is anything beyond that, then perhaps it is beyond our power to be concerned about.
We also got no payment for your other companion who was lost to the forest. This is something new.
You show me reason when you have evidence. Sick of this place.
Well, then let's do what we came here to do and leave.
All right. Well, as I say, we should search the ruins again thoroughly, foot by foot, and as Almea suggested, a 1 kilometer in every direction through the forest. Patrols. We let Gideon do his work. He will find what he is looking for, and she kind of glances at Vlador as she says this next part. He will find the armory, and then we will be gone as soon as we have what we want. And I'm sure my father will be available to afford a bonus for all of you.
That's fine by me. Let's just... Enough talking, let's just do something.
She nods, and people split off in pairs to go looking around. It's entirely up to you guys. You know what? Let's say that what we have is... God, you would be an even number, wouldn't you? An odd number, rather. What do we reckon? Shall we have 3 groups with one of you taking an NPC, or shall we have a group of 3 and a group of 2? It's up to you guys. What do you feel like?
It's 3 and 2.
3 and 2 it? Let's 3 and 2 it. Sure. In that case, do you want it to be random, or do we want it to pick it kind of thematically?
I think Pharaoh would be trying to stick near Vardamar for the aforementioned reasons.
Okay. Well, how about then we have those 2, and then we have the 2 goblins and Aaron. How about that?
Like it. Nice and awkward for Aaron.
Nice.
We're just going to talking goblin the whole time.
It's fine. Aaron doesn't understand what people are talking about most of the time anyway.
Sure. Well, shall we say also that you can decide whether you have an outside patrol or looking around indoors. So let's go with the larger party first, right? Because that seems appropriate. So let's go with Shuglud and Gara and Aaron. Do you want to search inside, or do you want to take one of the patrols out in the forest?
I will follow the aggrieved parties.
You call the target, boss. I'm in no mood for strategy.
I think inside, because it's more likely we'll find something to fight.
Okay, sure. Well, how about then? How about you take the labyrinth? That's the most interesting part, right? So how about we take down there? How does that sound?
Yeah, good.
Well then, yeah, the three of you head down to the labyrinth. How are you searching this? Are you just following it round all the way, like through all the concentric rings, kind of to make sure you get to the center, and also to cover everywhere? Is that the kind of thing we're doing, or?
I think I would suggest we just keep walking the path we have, because it seems like the labyrinth is designed to deposit us somewhere and return us back from somewhere.
Yeah,
that seems very valid. So as you kind of trudge forward and wander around, first of all, feel free. Do we want to have a conversation while we're doing it? Like, it's cool if not, and we can move to things happening or not happening or whatever. But do we want to have a little characterful chat as we're going around? Or
yeah, I'd like to say to Aaron, you knew a bit about these Moretkos. Are they known for strangling people in Inderos?
Is that a particular thing with the Moretkos?
The books do not go into that much depth of the preferred killing styles of one dwarf family that is only mentioned by name, John. Feel free to make stuff up.
I think...
Let's say probably no. They probably don't have a signature killing style.
No, people tend to go missing in a variety of ways, but they don't have a particular reputation. Though, from what Vlador says, he has some experience.
Yeah, that is what we thought. Well, I guess we'll try to find out some other way.
Who was he on watch with last night?
A question no one has asked yet.
I don't know who was inside the wall. He was third watch outside the wall.
I'm going to say that no one... I'm going to say that none of the three of you know, because otherwise, you'd probably have engaged with that already. But someone sets the watches and you don't know who it is. Cerex usually gives them to you. Maybe he sets them, you don't know.
Well, we also kind of set our own goblin watch outside the wall as well.
You do,
yeah. So we're kind of maybe a little bit distant from that process.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who else was on watch, but I know he was going to keep an eye on the dwarf for obvious reasons. That's the last thing he said to me.
I'm sorry. I know this isn't the end any of you wanted.
Pull your weight when we find out whatever it is we have to kill down here, and all will be equal.
I hoisten my belts slightly into a more quick draw position.
Okay. So as you're pacing round the kind of the lengths of this labyrinth, Aaron, you find yourself you maybe stay a couple of paces away from the Variguldra anyway, because you feel, as you said, slightly awkward and out of place. But also now they're kind of just conversing softly in their goblin tongue, and you want to let them, maybe they're talking about their dead companion. And as you do so, you're walking down down the tunnel, and I think I described when you went through it the first time, there are these little passages off that lead to other sort of long curving passageways that form these concentric rings, and as you do so, you catch some movement out of the corner of your eye.
Can I?
As of someone kind of just maybe moving past just out of your line of sight. The passageway is only about a couple of feet through. If you just if you leaned round, you could see who it was quite easily. You're sure. Okay. You lean round and look down the tunnel, and how long you see this figure is unclear. Perhaps a couple of seconds, perhaps a bit longer than that. But it's you almost enter into an odd, hazy, fugue-like state, a dream-like state as you do so. As you see a tall, kind of figure dressed in kind of brownish red clothing, kind of walking as if kind of walking away from that intersection. He turns and kind of looks kind of like very much absorbed in his own thoughts, and reaches up to run his fingers through a tangled dark brown beard. You hold your breath and in disbelief. The dark red clothing is covered, has the heraldry of your family clearly on it, and you haven't seen him since he died years ago, but this is your father. And then he's gone.
Father?
I think it's safe to say the goblins probably heard that.
Yeah, I'll stop and make sure I can still see him.
You can see Aaron. He's just kind of leaning around to look in another tunnel.
Aaron, don't follow the ghosts.
I thought I saw... No, I did see.
Don't follow the ghosts. If we leave this path, it'll take us hours to get out.
What did you see, Aaron?
I saw my father.
And didn't Ulf see Fosa when we were camping in the forest?
Chuckled saw someone much less welcome on the first night.
Yeah. I think Fosa saw Rusty. It's been like that the whole way here.
I take a few steps back from the corridor and rejoin the goblins, with my eyes still on the intersection.
Could have been something like that led Alfbog down here.
Do you think it was something like that that strangled him? Can these things hurt us?
This is Davokar. Everything can hurt you. We stick to the plan. Maybe we'll follow the next apparition we find and see if they taste steel, like they taste fear.
I thought I'd forgotten what he looked like.
Under better circumstances, perhaps this would be a time for healing. But we are underground in the most cursed place I've ever set foot on.
Do we, as a group, start proceeding back towards the chamber at the center of the labyrinth?
I think I really want to follow this, wherever this concentric ring leads us. And if that goes to the center, then yeah.
It does seem to, like, it basically doesn't seem to be a maze. It just seems to be one long path that leads in a very roundabout way to that central chamber. Aaron, I'm assuming you're kind of a bit dazed and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I follow along wherever the goblins go, but I am not completely tracking.
No problem. Yeah, as you're proceeding forward, you kind of get the sense, you've roughly got a sense of how long it takes to get to the central chamber now. But it's safe to say on this and every occasion when you try and do so, it just feels like the wrong amount of time from how you've done it previously, whether it's shorter or longer. This time, let's say it seems to take shorter than it has done before. And as you start getting there kind of further towards closer towards that central chamber, all of you start to hear a tapping noise that resolves itself more as you round into the final circle round to the chamber. It sounds like someone, tapping or chiseling or hammering away at rock.
I can guess the scene.
Well,
I think we'll go round the corner.
Okay, so as you walk along this kind of final stretch, obviously the sound starts getting louder and clearer as you're going closer, and then just as you step round the kind of edge of the tunnel to be able to see into the chamber, it stops, kind of stops sharply. And as you round and look into the chamber, you see the monolith there, kind of hung, like tangled in the chains that lead to the sides. You see Gideon, a good maybe 20 feet away from the monolith, between you and the monolith, standing facing you as you come in, just kind of standing very still. And he tilts his head and says, "Am I required above ground?"
No, not as far as I know. We're just down here searching, making sure everything's safe after what happened to Alfbog.
There is absolutely no way he could have covered the ground in the time it took for the sounds to stop.
You've been trying to quarry away at that cursed stone, is it?
My endeavours are purely mystical. Why would I attempt to destroy it?
We could hear the tapping.
Sound plays tricks down here.
Time plays tricks down here as well. Many tricks are being played in this expedition.
How observant.
There's no one
I
else
assume
down
you're
here.
here to examine the chamber for evidence that may lead to the perpetrator against your departed companion?
Starting to believe that the perpetrator may be the one who's interned here. But yes, we will have a look around and maybe try our chances at the labyrinth again.
Please, feel free. I need to take a break anyway. He kind of steps a couple of paces and just stands along the wall, kind of bundles himself up in his cloak, even though it's really quite warm down here, and just watches you do whatever you do.
I'll do a search. I'll also do a lap of the room, kind of suspiciously regarding the crystal.
Sure. How about the other two?
Yeah, I'd like to take a look. I'd like to take a look at the kind of rock to see if there's any obvious signs of someone having been trying to get bits off of it.
Sure. How about you, Aaron?
This isn't the only... This is my mental picture in that this is a circular chamber. And, like, all of the paths of concentric circles, like, there are different entrances into here, right?
No, just one.
Right, or is this the only entrance?
Just one, yeah.
Huh. I think I will also do a circuit in the opposite direction to Gara. Just on the off chance that we don't meet at the other end.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Sure. So you could all go ahead and roll. Give me one of them lovely vigilant rolls.
Nope.
I actually succeeded.
Nice.
Good Lord. You don't find it, I think. What do you find? Let's say that there are, there's quite a lot of scuff marks in the ground underneath where there are footfalls, but you suspect they're just Gideon from kind of being down here. You don't really see the signs that anyone has been down here apart from Gideon. Shuglad and Garar, you don't find anything at all. And Shuglad, you don't find any marks on the stone. Are you touching it at any point while you're examining it?
I am fundamentally not.
I think if I don't see anything that like catches my interest in terms of like where it might have been chipped, then I wouldn't touch it.
That's fine. Aaron, let's add because you succeeded. Let's add a specific thing. Well, I gave you the footfalls, but also you don't see any signs of tools, of any kind, in case you were concerned, about the noises or what have you.
Okay. That's still weird. That's extra weird.
And you know what? Because you rolled a success, let's give you something extra. As you circle the room and kind of meet Gara, and then kind of go around the other way, you do notice while the rest of you are kind of like going about your business, you don't really hear. He might not even be saying things out loud, but Gideon kind of has his head really tucked in underneath his hood, and he's tucked in, but he's kind of gesticulating slightly with one hand, and his lips are definitely moving as if talking. He's not talking out loud, but he's talking to himself, I guess, but in quite an animated way, like a small argument or a debate. Elle's really happy with this, I can tell.
I'm not. Yeah.
Don't like this. Don't like this at all.
Can I sort of mooch slightly out of sight and keep a bit of an eye on him? Like,
yeah, sure. You can kind of maybe stand a bit in the entranceway, you know.
Yeah.
See that? And you know what? While we're here as well, let's have obviously every time I roll a die, something happens. So we're fairly clear now that I'm rolling on stuff. Ooh, and it's Shuglud. How exciting!
I hate it when he's happy.
Yeah. So Shuglud, as you're kind of walking around, kind of looking at the stone, you don't experience anything concrete, and nothing you could describe easily, but you certainly get the sensation you're being watched, and specifically from the stone. You just feel like it's aware of you.
Okay. I think I might, in this situation, touch the stone, because I heard people talking that it like gets rid of some kind of sensation from you at some point. And also, if this stone is what is doing these things, then I am perfectly happy to confront it at this stage.
Why don't you give me a resolute roll?
Okay. I can roll my persuasion for this, because I have that ability. And I made it. I got a 9.
Okay. You touch... how do you touch it? Do you kind of just brush your fingers against it, or do you press your hand fully against it, or hug it?
I don't think I'd hug it. I think I'd press my hand against it.
Okay. You first feel a kind of sensation of... As you do that, do you think you'd like close your eyes, or are you just kind of trying to describe to me how you try and commune in some way with this thing? You're on mute, by the way.
Oh, sorry. I think I would. Yeah, I'd close my eyes, possibly have my other hand on one of my swords, and I think as much as try and get something from this stone, I will be trying to portray something back to it of like, if you are doing this, probably just anger really into this stone, just trying to communicate some anger with it.
Sure. Well, the sensation you get first, you feel as though it's very hard to describe, but you feel the sensation of something inside the stone reaching out towards you in the same way you are reaching out and touching it. Are you, as you feel this sensation, are you going to carry on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you give me another resolute roll then, please?
Okay.
And do this one at a -1.
Okay. I'll need a 14. I got a 4.
So you have a very distinct sensation as you're reaching out. Did you say you had your eyes, or have you got your eyes closed? Or
eyes closed? Yeah.
If you did not know better, you just have the very distinct, and it's only a fleeting physical sensation, but even though the physical sensation passes quickly, emotionally and mentally, it sits there for you. You feel like as your hand is pressed against the stone, another hand matches yours on the other side. Are you remaining there?
Yeah.
Can you give me another resolute roll, please, at -3?
Oh my god, why would you do this?
Okay. I got a 20.
Oh. Okay then. Okay
Oh, no.
then. So you feel like some kind of link is being forged, some kind of communication is being established, and then your hand just kind of piercing, like pins and needles, but far more painful, and your hand just kind of spasms and cramps, and your whole arm just kind of jumps off like you've had an electric jolt through it, and do you think you might give an involuntary yelp or cry at this point?
I guess if it was painful enough, then yeah. I'd definitely try not to, but
sure.
Yeah.
As you do so, and like your eyes flick open, you become more aware. Gideon is stood right by your side, kind of head tilted, examining this occurrence, and he gives you a sort of a tight, humorless smile and says, "The mysteries are not for everyone."
apparently not. Maybe you should work faster. My companions are dying while you're here taking a break.
This is, I suspect, ill-meant advice, but I think I'm beginning to agree with you. When you reach the surface, after you have carried out your investigations and patrols, I would be grateful if you would request, and obviously, after telling Lady Kuanor about this, perhaps if you could request the company of Vardamar and Aurel down here. I think I will need some aid later.
Fine. If that'll speed this up, I'll get them sent down here.
I'm sure it will.
There's nothing down here. Never have I seen a room more empty.
I cannot imagine how many rooms where you come from have huge, like, stone monoliths strung with massive chain. Nothing here.
Nothing here. Nothing indicating that there's some gang of cutthroat thieves killing all my friends.
How disappointed would you all be if that was what was happening?
Oh, wow. What a bait and switch.
There we go. Well, I believe that is that particular group's little investigation down in the labyrinth sorted. Why don't we catch back up with Vardamar and Farah out on their own patrol? Have you guys taken an internal investigation or an external patrol? It would probably be more fun if it was the latter, but because then you wouldn't just be walking down a corridor or something. But it's entirely up to you.
I like fun. Let's go fun.
Fun is a strong choice. Yeah, let's go with fun.
Yeah.
Sure.
By
Absolutely.
fun, he meant death.
Death. So
it's game master fun, not us fun. So it's
absolutely. Let's go all quadranty here. Okay. Well, you are sent by Serix out beyond the north wall. So you're going to have to leave via the entrance you came in on and just kind of like round up and go along that wall where the drum is placed and basically just walk off in one direction and try and roughly scout the area, at the north of that wall and see what you can find, really. Are there any preparations you're making for this, or are you just making sure you're armed and then heading out?
Would we have a way of signaling the rest of the group if we find something, like a whistle or a horn or something?
Yeah, I mean,
I can
even
signal or Elle.
True. You can do that. Although I don't think the others know that, do they?
No one knows.
I mean, you're meant to be going up to a kilometer away. You can pretty much hear someone yelling in a non-settlement environment a kilometer away, or whistling sharply, certainly. But nothing has been massively arranged, no.
I might speak to either Serex or whoever is at camp just to, let him know that someone ought to be listening out that way.
Sure.
Possibly up on the wall, just in case we need to give some very quick warning to the rest of the group.
Serex nods and says, "Aye, that's a good idea. I'll be up on those ramparts." He mentions this to kind of other people going out in different directions as well, and says, "You whistle or yell, and we'll try and come running."
Would appreciate it. Would hate to add 2 more missing to the list. It's bad accounting.
He nods and kind of gesticulates for you to be on your way to the north.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Beyond basic provisions and stuff, we'll head out.
Sure. And as you head out and as you start walking, why don't we, like the others had, do you guys want to have any kind of conversation? I don't know if there's any kind of specific things between your characters that you want to cover, or you just want to generally talk about the event?
I would like to ask Vardamar, obviously, if he felt or heard anything. Was it just earlier in the day that we were down that corridor? And I saw the things
down the corridor. Oh, the voices and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, that was earlier today. Yeah, everything in this session has been 1 day so far.
Yeah, in that case, I'm just gonna turn to Vardamar and just say, you seem to have some sort of, innate sense for magic. I don't suppose you heard anything back when we were down there? Saw anything?
And to be clear, I didn't this time, right? Yeah. No, I'll turn to Farah. No, what did you hear this time?
I mean, could just be mind playing tricks on me. I mean, we have been wandering around in dark ruins for a while, but there was... we were passing a certain corridor, I heard voices, but when I turned, there was no one. They weren't speaking our language.
I'm not willing to discount anything as just a trick of the imagination in this place. I think it's all significant and all comes from somewhere. I did feel a presence as we neared this whole ruin. Gideon felt it too, but I haven't heard these voices. I wonder if it was either specific for you or just some magic that only you twigged into.
Fair, it's worth mentioning if Vardamar has mentioned feeling something approaching the ruins, Aurel definitely felt that as well. You didn't, but Aurel did.
You say you felt something. Could you elaborate on that? I did not, but my companion, he complained about feeling something similar, feeling something, I don't know.
Your companion, he's mystically trained as well, isn't he?
Is he, Matt? I can't remember.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, his character class is mystic. He definitely is. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
I think there's some resonance with those who can tap into magic here. I felt this vibration, this buzzing. It didn't have a sound so much as this physical presence in me, and it got worse the closer we got to the courtyard and that monolith at the center. And the moment I was able to touch the monolith itself, it went away. It can't be a coincidence. It only resonates with the magical among us.
Yes, that sounds exactly like the thing that Aurel was describing to me. I personally did not feel it, but then Aurel did not hear what I heard.
It sounds like that was meant for you and you alone then.
I dislike this presence for people and occurrences for something's playing with us.
The uncertainty that we're never told what to look for and what we're here to find, and that we're just here to wait for something to be figured out. That mystery just keeps leaving with me, and it's a deliberate one. We're deliberately kept in the dark about what all this is, and the longer we're here, the longer we expose ourselves to more of this trickery.
I agree. I only hope that that Gideon person figures out what he's looking for and the dwarf finds his armory so we can get out of here as soon as we can.
As obviously you're wandering through the forest as you do this, you'd almost forgotten how dense and dark it was under the boughs of Davokar, because obviously there is no vegetation whatsoever in the ruins, and as soon as you were about 15 feet away from the walls, it closed in on you again, and as you've kind of stridden north in order to carry out this patrol, kind of the walls receding behind you, you can't see them anymore now, and kind of the sense of one sense of foreboding within the ruins has exchanged itself for another that you have out in the forest, as there are odd noises and rustlings and all kinds of things like this. But as your conversation carries on, Vardmar, you experience a very similar sensation to the one Farah had down in the tunnels, where you feel like there were just kind of voices on the edge of your hearing, and at first you ascribe them to probably another patrol off walking and talking as you are, and then as they resolve themselves a bit clearer and sound like they're coming just kind of maybe a distance off to the northwest, you realize they are in a language you do not understand.
Okay.
Although, having said that, can you give me a cunning roll? Because you have Lore Master, right?
I do.
You do.
That's a 1, so that's a thing.
Nice.
Well then, I will tell you this. I mean, it's not in a language you understand, so that rules out Ambrian and kind of various barbarian dialects and the like. I can't remember if you understand Goblin, but it's not Goblin. A lot of people, both in the barbarian tribes and the Ambrians, have conjectured what Symbaroum might sound like. And some of their conjectures sound like this.
Okay. I want to immediately stop us in place and just listen for a moment, and I'll just tap my ear looking at Farah like I'm hearing something as well. So I just want us to sit in place, try to find a direction to this, and if anything's going on, but I don't want to be trooping around while I'm listening.
You as you pause and kind of can obviously the sound of your feet doesn't start to interfere so much with the noise of the voices. You can hear that you cannot understand what they are saying, but it seems to be multiple voices, and they sound desperate. Perhaps slightly angry, but most of all on the edge of panic.
Okay. I'll turn to Farah and just look at her. Can you hear this?
You can hear nothing.
I'll just shake my head. I won't respond, since I'm obviously aware he is hearing something and I don't want to disturb that.
I'm just, going to listen a little longer. Can I feel a direction for where they're coming from?
Yeah, from the northwest. They seem to be diminishing slightly now, but not like they're moving away. Like they're just dissipating, fading, breaking apart on the wind.
Okay, I'm going to sort of point in that direction and just sort of usher her and hustle off at as much of a jog as the forest will let me do to see if I can catch up with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I will quickly... where is Aurel at this point in time? Because obviously
Aurel will be with someone, right? So yeah. Let's roll a die and see who Aurel is with. Out of all the possible people he could be with. Let's see. So So that's 1 and 2. Oh, let's just roll between those two for ease. He's with Elmea, the scout.
Okay, I'm just going to shoot over a message and just say noises coming from the northwest, same voices we heard yesterday. Vardamar and I are going to investigate.
Those voices were this morning, by the way. Rather than
yeah, sorry. Yeah, my
and
bad.
Arel also corrects you immediately and says, you heard them. Do you need help? Are you safe?
Yes, we're safe for now. No physical presence has made itself known. I believe I'll be okay with Vardamar. If we get in any trouble, I will let you know. Do not relay our position to the party unless I tell you.
All right. Vardamar, you probably don't notice Farah looking a bit distant for doing this because you're focusing on the voices, right? Yeah. You emerge into, it's not so much a clearing, or if it is a clearing, it's a very small one, but it's certainly something of a gap in the undergrowth. Underfoot, you can spot appears to be the very old remains of an old paved road leading north-south, perhaps towards the ruins. On the among the old battered cobblestones at the center of it, gleaming is what appears to be a small or smallish gold coin.
Does it look like it was just discarded, or is it like very obviously sort of placed there?
It is not. It's like a lot of things here are kind of buried under moss and soil. It's not. It seems to have been placed or dropped recently on the surface of the cobblestones. Of people, there is no sign, and the voices have now entirely faded away.
Okay. I'm just going to take a look around this small clearing as well and just turn back to Farah. The voices have gone, but they were definitely coming from this direction. And that coin doesn't look like it's as old as the rest of these ruins here.
Could it be... I mean, was it a quick out-of-character question? Aaron, on his bedroll, did he get left... what was the pot with coins in it? Or
No. It was just kind of an urn made of gold.
Just an urn made of gold, okay.
It looks like kind of similar gold. Like the gold coin looks old, but it obviously the way it's not embedded into the ground makes it seem like it's been placed or dropped here recently.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll just mention it could be from whoever left those things on our bedroll. It doesn't look nearly as old as the rest of the surroundings.
I can't help but feeling we're being left breadcrumbs to follow here.
It seems like it. Should we press on? Should we wait for backup? My only concern is that these voices may be gone if we double back.
I already can't hear them anymore. I think whatever they were probably leading us to this point, and unless we hear them again, this was the intended destination. I also don't want to stray too far from the ruins, lest the forest swallow us whole. So I'm going to slowly walk up to the center of the clearing and have a look at this coin.
Sure. It is, you're fairly sure it is a coin of Symbaric origin. Like, obviously, you'd need to pick it up and examine it more closely to have more idea of it, but it appears to have a sun symbol on it, which seems somewhat incongruous to you, being as, Ambrian coins also have sun symbols on them.
So the design would look relatively recent to me, despite the
You're
age?
absolutely sure it is kind of old and Symbaric, but it's just it's just an odd... you are used to seeing coins with sun symbols on them, and this coin has a sun symbol on it.
Okay.
Which seems jarringly banal.
All right. Against all better judgment, but not Vardamar's apparently, I'm going to pick it up and see what's what.
And take a closer look. Yeah, nothing horrible happens. All good either. Can you give me a cunning test, please?
Yeah. That's a 3, so that passes.
Upon closer inspection, It is not the symbol of a sun, but instead a stylized spider figure that looks from a distance like a sun, perhaps intentionally.
Not again.
Not more big spiders. Yeah.
Does this trigger anything, any memory or?
No. We are simply referring to our other main campaign. Here.
That's
a large spider featured at one point, quite significant.
Yeah, I'll hold it up to Farah just so she can have a look as well. But yeah, this is a strange one for me as well.
Having grown up annoyingly in Davokar, would I resentfully?
Sorry, I thought you were saying that like the annoying bit was that you grew up. You know,
having grown up annoyingly.
I'm one of those unlucky people who grew up.
Oh, but yeah, no. Having would I recognize it any like?
You know what? I think both of you can give me a cunning roll.
Most excellent. Dump stat. Let's see. I need a 9. What type be alive? And I got a 17, so I did not make that.
I got a 9, but so made that.
Damn it, Valdemar.
Sorry.
In both kind of barbarian and Symbaric mythology, there's a lot of spiders. And the various tribes still revere kind of spider gods, spider goddesses, things like that. They're pretty common, and it would be difficult to draw any kind of conclusion. Like now that now that you've seen it, having a spider on a Symbaric coin seems way more appropriate than having a sun. So in a way, it's actually less mysterious to you. And you can't think of anything specific that would relate to your current circumstance.
All right. Yeah, I'll just sort of relay that it's likely a Symbaric design here, and possibly as old as the ruins itself, if that's the case. But just the annoying incongruity of it being just left here by someone who's leaving ancient coins for us to follow.
Well, whoever it is, they're older than you and I put together, I imagine, with Symbaric coins like this. It seems that the further we delve into this forest, the more the mystery deepens.
Can we see how much further north of the road goes?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, you can have a look there. What would we roll to kind of track it? Cunning, I guess, right? That seems like a cunning or vigilant. You know what? Both of you just make one roll, but you can roll either cunning or vigilant, I think, for this. Would bushcraft help at all? Yeah, I think it would.
Yeah. So
I think it would. So, is there a specific rule around bushcraft?
Well, no. So, like bushcraft, I mean, it says that it's more to do with finding like
provisions
and game and stuff. Yeah. But I think that's reasonable. But you know what?
Vigilant.
Whatever you choose to roll, take a +2 on it. How about that?
Cool. And what could we roll?
No, anyone with bushcraft. Valdemar may well have as well. Yeah.
Because I'd originally failed, but that +2 just does it for me.
Yeah, go for it. Okay. I think that's appropriate.
And what was I rolling? Sorry,
either cunning or vigilant.
Vigilant, it is.
Oh yeah, yours is the character sheet I'm actually using for reference, so I can see that's better.
Right. Vigilant 10, but with my rolled an 11, so with my +2 I make it. Just
there we go. Both of you find some scattered bits of cobblestone, or maybe old cobblestones. Sort of, it could be cobblestone, it could have been paving. It's tough to tell. It's all cracked and heavily desiccated after centuries, maybe millennia of no use. And you find a couple of scraps of it north, up to about maybe 50 meters away, and then you lose track of it, and you're not sure if it massively remains and you just can't find the rest of it, or maybe it's just so fragmented and half buried that this is all you can really find.
But no other breadcrumbs of any significance beyond the cobblestones? No. Okay.
And you are now probably about 1 kilometer from the prison.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it seems our trail stops here, and we're further from the prison than I'd like to be. I think we should head back and tell the others what we found.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think any further would do us any favors, and I can't even guarantee we'd find our way back if we did. So, yeah, I think it's time we sort of turned around and patrolled our way back to the ruins.
Okay, I think that's a good opportunity to have everyone meet up again. It's probably kind of late afternoon by this time, after everyone's carried out all their searches. And why don't we have everyone meet, maybe some, let's say Elle and Aurel are like back already, kind of maybe cooking up a lunch or a late lunch for everyone out of some game that Elle has shot down. And everyone is kind of like sat around in little groups, kind of murmuring to each other. And it doesn't seem that anyone has found anything of any real consequence out there. Or within the ruin itself. Gideon is absent, still down in the labyrinth. True to her word, Mariol and Iaso are kind of basically they brought a couple of barrels over from the campsite and are kind of sat outside the stairs down. So they are kind of keeping guard or keeping watch over him, as it were. But everyone else is just scattered around a bit glumly, eating and looking like no mysteries have been revealed.
I'll shoot a look. Oh, sorry. Go on ahead.
On our way back up, I just wanted to be noted that I will have scolded Shuglud for touching the Forbidden Stone.
That's fair.
It's like that scene in Disney's Aladdin where Abu grabs and everything goes wrong. But yeah, I will. I will kind of shuffle over to Vardamar and ask, and in lowered voice, ask him if we're gonna relay our coin information and voice information, since we appear to be the only two that have heard it thus far.
Yeah, I'll just sort of, not quite looking in the same direction, but under, in hushed tones. I think at this point, if we can't trust these traveling companions, we might as well not sleep at night, because we'll just end up with a knife in our backs there. I think we have to start by trusting someone's here, and it might as well be this crew.
Well, I'll just kind of say at the very least, I'm happy to tell the party that we set out with, meaning obviously Garar, Shuglud, Arin, etc.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make it known that I don't trust Iaso or Gideon or Mariol. Weirdly, I still trust the dwarf.
I don't
understand why.
Yeah, let's just say
this. At least with the dwarf, you know where you stand.
Exactly.
Let's just say, for the ease of this conversation we're about to have, because I think everyone's about to share information and stuff, right? Let's say that just for my personal, not having to play 6 different people or whatever, Serix is there with you, and Ull is there with you, the other remaining Farraguldru. But he's not a big talker, fortunately. So so if I'm talking, assume I am Serix, if you couldn't tell from my gruff Serix voice. Yeah, but just go ahead.
Yeah, I think we can lead off with that. I'll sort of relay our sort of wander in the woods, and I'll just sort of lay it on the table there. Farah and I have both, at alternating points today, heard voices whispering to us that only either of us respectively can hear, and I have some reason to believe those voices were speaking Symbaric, and they led us down one place or another. For us in the woods today, they led us to a clearing, and this coin, which seemed to have been left for us on an old Symbaric road leading north. I don't know who. The voices dissipated and we never saw anyone speaking. They were panicked, and they may not have been from this time, but we have been hearing these things. They definitely happened to us.
I'll just be nodding along in the background.
Did the voices react to you in any way? Because I thought I saw Gideon talking to himself earlier.
Did he seem panicked at all while he did that?
He seemed terse.
unless he knows Symbaroum and hasn't been telling us. I can't say that it was, but maybe something reached out to us.
I'll shoot Gara a look.
You'll
So
shoot
I'll
Garrett a
Chuglud
look.
I'll just say, I think Aaron also saw something today.
Oh, I saw something.
Want
There
to
was an
elaborate?
apparition in the... I saw my father.
I'm assuming not the physical presence of your father.
It would be difficult.
He's dead, isn't he?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. That was in character.
It looks like at least a number of everyone has experienced finding or being called by some creature, some spectre from the past. I think, depending on what other information we find, we should go and seek out these voices and apparitions in the labyrinth and follow them. And when we find them, see if they can die.
Well, maybe they aren't the threats? I mean, I know it's creepy voices whispering to us from nowhere, but maybe they were the ones that gave us these, and why would they give us gifts if they intended us harm?
I'm running out of reasons to not shoot things. I would like, as much as possible, to shoot the most guilty thing.
That is understandable and fair.
I would love to help you with that shooting if we can find something with a body to shoot. But thus far, almost everything seems to be a voice or an apparition or living in our heads.
I'm going to raise my hand and say, "Or Gideon."
There is that.
I can tell you that Gideon has asked for you, Valdemar, and Aurel down there to help him.
I will step in front of Aurel immediately.
He didn't say why.
No, just to help, but it's hard to know whether the thing in the stone is the threat or Gideon himself is looking to use it.
Wherever Aurel goes, I go. I'm not budging on this. I don't trust Gideon.
I'm going to turn to Farah as well. I wouldn't have it any other way. I have the distinct impression he wants to use us for some kind of experiment, and I don't want us to be the only ones down there without someone watching our backs.
I'd say we all go together, ghost hunting, and then if we can't find anything else, we go and see what the one in yellow wants to do with the rock. Whether or not he has earned himself a swiftly shot arrow.
I agree. He definitely can't be trusted. You have to all keep an eye on him.
I think we're all in agreement with that.
I don't think Lady Mariel will be too happy if we kill her lawmaster.
Her mental state and satisfaction with her lot in life, I weigh illy against the inopportune death of my tribesmen.
She may look unfavorably upon that, but if he's jeopardizing all of our lives just to touch a stone for ages and to release whatever horrors are locked inside there, I'm not willing to stake my life against whatever tests and experiments he has planned.
I'm just hoping the Morechkos agree with you.
I don't think they care about anything other than the armory.
So
all
it
I'm saying.
sounds like we're reaching a conclusion of that the whole group wants to go down to the center of the labyrinth alongside Vardamar and Aurel. Serix seems skeptical about whether whether this is either necessary or whether this is just going to set Gideon's teeth on edge or what have you. But he just kind of shrugs and says he'll make sure things are okay up here while you head down. You're probably starting to get close to nightfall, or at least twilight now, as you all kind of step down those stairs and start traveling round the coils of the labyrinth. And I wouldn't want you to think that there's any reason why I might be rolling a die. Let's go for... What is that result? That result is that, but I'd rather not have that. So that doesn't seem dramatically satisfying. That is, however. Cool. Screw the dice. I'll do what I want.
Are you just making this whole story up? What?
My secret revealed. So as you're all kind of stepping down into the labyrinth, Vardamar, let's say you're at the head of the group. And as you kind of just step down, as you do as you're walking downstairs, maybe not paying a huge amount of attention, and then kind of you take that last step into the labyrinth and look up, and further down it, at where it curls round for the first time, you see a figure standing there. A figure you have not seen for, let me calculate things in my head for the timeline of this setting, a figure you have not seen for probably about 15 years, standing briefly looking at you before or partly maybe retreating into the shadows or dissipating again, or just is gone. And the figure is that of your older brother who a decade and a half ago left to make war on the Ambrian intruders in the barbarian lands and never returned.
Vardamar is just going to go absolutely sort of cold for a moment and just try and get some composure. But I'm going to stop in my tracks for a moment. And it was just passing by the vision?
Yeah, he was kind of stood there and then just... it wasn't like just blinking and 1 second he's there and one he's not. He was stood there kind of looking at you and a fair distance away. But just kind of like, it's more like you enter a kind of, like I think I've mentioned before, an almost dream-like state of just, kind of micro sleep when you just go out for a second and then everything comes back in and he's gone.
I'm going to turn to Aaron very quickly. You said you saw your father, right?
Correct.
It was brief. It was as though from a dream, and there and gone again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did you see someone?
That was my brother down at the end of the hall. He's also dead. Something's reaching to us. Something's using our memories of lost people and using it to speak to us somehow. And I don't know what they are saying, but they are reaching for us specifically and using our minds to do it. I'm going to need a moment, but very slowly I'm going to make my way back down the hall after recovering myself.
Unless, it probably goes without saying, but as you reach that turn in the corridor, there is nothing. No footsteps in the ground, no signs of anything. All of you follow the twists and turns of the labyrinth round. It seems to take far too long to get here compared to how it was earlier today. but you finally round to that final corner. There is no kind of sound of chisel on stone this time. And as you round the corner, you see Gideon kind of like sat on the ground, leaning up against the wall. He has kind of his hands bundled up in that voluminous yellow robe, kind of round his knees, and he's kind of rocking backwards and forwards slightly and even quivering a little. And as you all walk in, his head kind of snaps round and he looks at you briefly with a look of shock and even slight fear. And then his features kind of like calm themselves, and he sort of scrambles to his feet and says, "I asked for the presence of the mystics only. Others could interfere with delicate process."
If Elle is to be here, I am also to be here. I will not negotiate on the matter.
And the other three of you, are you this clansman's keeper?
Surely you don't begrudge the presence of a few extra people simply watching our backs while we can focus on the task.
The task will take longer if the balance is disturbed. I thought you wanted haste.
I wanted clarity above all else.
Very well. I suppose if you want us to stay for longer, perhaps there'll be an opportunity for there to be none of your tribe left. He kind of turns away at this and waves behind him and says, "At least wait in the passageway."
Giving Shuglod a very specific look that he's probably seen quite a lot on hunting, and that is this.
You might want to repeat that, Chris. I think you cut it in and out a little there.
Yeah, sorry. I've given Shuglod a look which is kind of very much like, please tell me to kill this person.
I'll just slightly shake my head at Garah, sadly. Fine. We'll wait outside, but we expect you to be quick.
I'll turn to Farah. I'll watch out for Aurel as best I can in this, and call to you the moment that one so much as twitches wrong.
Okay, good. I trust you. I'll just be outside, and we'll be as close to the room as I can be.
You can definitely look into it and pretty much see all.
I'm just going to be stood. I'm just like going to be stood there, like.
Yeah, sure. Gideon beckons you and Aurel forwards, Vardamar, kind of quite sort of near the stone, but not directly next to it. And he leans in almost kind of conspiratorially and says, "First, it is not in my nature to do this, but I wish to apologize for my secretive nature so far." He kind of bundles himself up further. My own curiosity and pride got the better of me, but I now know I cannot achieve this alone, and I do require your aid. I appreciate that you are willing to provide it.
Well, they said I would find the unexpected in the forests of Davakar. I didn't expect it to be an apology. That is truly a treasure worth coming all this way for.
Yes, yes, very amusing. Do you want to know what this is?
I'll spare the rest of the snide remarks then. Yes, I need to know.
He kind of glances over Aurel, who looks quite, as he usually does, quite kind of shy and withdrawn about it, but it still looks quite curious. It, appropriately, for the purpose of the location, is a lock. A lock barring us from the true interior of this prison. And we must find a key. There are presences, low-level spirits, minor things bound within it, bound within these chains, keeping this lock in place. We should find a way to remove the chains. Whether that is done mystically or physically, or even with some form of commune, it must be done. And then we gain access to certain curiosities and storehouses of knowledge within, and also to this damn armory that Kohinoor and her loan shark want.
You called this a prison before, but you make it sound like it's simply a vault to house something.
The inhabitants are long gone. Or perhaps some remain in there, which will mean all your companions' big, sharp weapons will come in handy. Yes? But first, we need to get in. This is the lock. We need the key. As far as I can deduce, the key is removing the chains. If you have other insights after study, I would welcome them.
And you think some sort of commune with the spirits or removing them could affect the chains as they are physically present here?
Perhaps. I feel they are likely bound within the chains primarily. But it may simply serve to somehow overpower it with our will and resolve, or perhaps even simply remove them physically. Then I believe this stone becomes a portal, leading us to the true interior of the prison.
I'm going to guess because those are giant iron chains that we don't have much of a chance of physically removing them short of a lot of backbreaking labor. Not that my Vardamar would know that well about blacksmithing or anything, but
I would imagine not, which is why I have not brought it up. But we could perhaps try. Get some of the larger individuals above, the stronger ones, although from what I understand, they are the ones perhaps most under suspicion. That goblin looked rather formidable.
He did. But anyone who refuses to help would out themselves as not quite being of the same mission as the rest of us. That said, it does seem like that would take time that we might not have, and that the spiritual approach might be a bit more direct.
Indeed, I concur, which is why I've asked for you two down here. Look, this isn't something we can study together in a formal manner. What I suggest is that you can take the next few hours to acclimate yourself to here. Try to reach out to whatever lies within. Examine it. I will answer you where I can, but most of it remains a mystery to me also. We carry out these examinations, and then perhaps tomorrow we can come up with some kind of plan.
These spirits, even if we aren't in this room, even if we aren't in contact with the stone, they've been reaching out to us, haven't they?
He kind of wrinkles his brow and says, that isn't supposed to be possible.
You haven't... I know you haven't been out of this room much. You haven't heard anything, seen anything that you can't explain.
Usual spiritual residues, slight anomalous events, nothing overwhelming or overbearing.
And have you felt anything when you've touched this stone?
There are things within.
Have you spoken to any of them?
Such things are typically beneath rational conversation. They are not powerful, they are simply here for a specific purpose. I don't believe that listening to them is wise.
Well,
they are here to keep us out, and we need to get in.
It sounds like convincing them might be the way, so listening to them might be in our interest, no matter how beneath us they might be.
Well, you practice your arts as you will, but I would caution you against deception. They may be primitive things, but they have guile.
You believe they're simply here to oppose anyone who might be trying to gain access. They're simply guards. Is that it?
I do. Right. Shall we begin?
Yeah. Is it worth me sort of, will it upset his proposed balance if I just sort of have a word with the rest of the group guarding outside about what's going to happen for the next few hours?
No, he doesn't seem to object to that. Aurel is already kind of walking towards the stone and kind of hesitantly, slightly brushing it with his fingertips, and doesn't seem to be kind of feeling anything or registering anything. He's only touching it very briefly and sort of looking up at it with a somewhat awestruck look on his face.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have a word with sort of the rest of the crew from the doorway there, just to let them know we'll be poking at this thing for a few hours yet to try and get some communal things there. If any of us should get lost too deep in a reverie, or if our companion seems perhaps a bit too excited about something, do let us know. But hopefully this should be a very boring few hours.
You will notice on your approach that Gara actually has an arrow nooked.
Clansman, time is not our ally.
And he's very fussy. So I'll just give them a final nod. And I want to, in a departure, investigate these chains then.
Sure.
I've touched the stone. I just want to get a sense, either touching them, getting a feel for how they were locked in place there, if there's anything beyond the physical that's sort of around or in them.
Absolutely. Are you carrying out any kind of... You do have some like rituals and things like that, right?
I do, and I was going to say, like, after... Basically, for augury, it sort of gives me a boost to this, and fortune telling is one of the rituals that I do have.
Okay.
In-game, that gives me a yes or no answer to a question if I do this ritual. So I kind of want to investigate first before I pose the question, so
Sure.
I know what to ask.
Yeah. And also, is the question to be asked kind of prognosticating type question, or is it
Yes or no question regarding the adventure? That's as much details as given. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. So. Let's say, for the purpose of investigating these chains, you know what, give me I think there's 3 rolls to be made here, so why don't we make these 3 and I'll give you the information based on them. I think there's a vigilant roll, I think there's a cunning roll, and I think there's a resolute roll. Because you're trying to just detect everything about them, right? So vigilant would be like, is there anything to see or kind of like visible about them? Cunning would be like to look at the make of them and like kind of see if there's anything more detailed or in their craftsmanship or things like this. And resolute would be, is there anything mystical you can feel about them? Okay. You know? So I think there's 3 rolls to be made there.
All right.
You make them in whatever order you want, and I'll answer them each time.
I think that's a perfectly good order. I'll start with Vigilant. And as a 19, that's a huge fail.
Yeah, I mean, you're not an expert on blacksmithing. They're big chains. But other than that, there's nothing you can tell about them that way.
Okay. Cunning next. That's a 12, so I passed by 1.
Okay. They are old, clearly. Very old. They are exceedingly thick. And the only reason you can think why such things would be made so thick is that whoever made them definitely did not want them broken.
All right. And then Resolute. 11, so that's a definite pass.
Okay. You spend some time kind of, casting minor cantrips over them, trying to commune with them in some way, just trying to take in the feel of them. You find them absolutely impenetrable. If there is some kind of mystical property to these chains, it is not one which you can analyze or interfere with in any way by the investigations you've made so far.
Okay.
You don't know if that's because there's nothing there or because there's something there and it's too advanced for your skills.
Sure. All right. I'll sort of complete my my best survey of these whole things and relay this to. Actually, I'm going to talk with Orel first before I talk to Gideon, and just sort of look for a moment when he's paused or taking a break, and just sort of share all of this.
Sure. Orel is stood like a little bit back from both the chain and the stone, and has kind of like some fingertips kind of brushing along the heavy iron of those stones, and some of the chain, sorry, and some on the stone itself. He kind of nods and listens. He seems sort of far away, kind of distracted as you relay this to him, and he nods and says, "Yes, the chains, I am not sure they are here to hold things physically. They're like nothing. A dead zone."
They are seemingly impenetrable to both physical interference and anything deeper and anything beyond that. They are simply the embodiment of being solid.
Gideon said the stone was the lock. I think the chains are. They're what's holding this in place.
Why else chain it? It has to be something. Is this monolith the key and we haven't realized it yet? Or is it something beyond it?
He said it's the portal to the true prison. I can only assume it's the chains are here to stop us entering, or is it to keep us out, or to keep something in?
Yeah. Whichever way it goes, we're going to have to engage with whatever spirits are inside this. I can't see a way that we would physically break through this in our lifetimes. And is Gideon in earshot?
Mm-hmm. He is watching you talk from about 15 feet away.
Well, as long as he's here, I'll just sort of say it. I don't know that I'm convinced that these spirits are simply here to serve as guards and that are beneath listening to. We're going to have to watch to see if they're trying to convince us of anything, but I think what we've been feeling and hearing is them reaching out to us, and if we don't listen, we do so at our peril.
I may be young, but I have found few situations in life where listening is heard.
Then even if our learned companion is trying to distract us from that, or to overwhelm them, or in all other ways combat them, I think we need to hear them out and communicate before we take any aggressive action towards them. They may well be hostile, and fighting them is our only choice, but I did not come here to fight spirits simply on the whims of some treasure hunting expedition.
Orel kind of nods and then flicks his eyes over at Gideon, who is watching you both and has heard exactly what you're saying, and just has a kind of slight cynical smile on his face. A gruff voice calls out, and you recognize it as Iarso's. Everyone hears this. This has taken a good couple of hours, by the way, in the passageway. I don't know if anyone wants to have had any conversations or anything in that time. I'd suggest that we can mention them but not go into detail, because I'm just looking at the clock and we are sort of approaching our stream end. But is there anything people want to have covered as they're out there waiting? for the mystics to do their business?
I will have at one point gone over to where Farah is probably very intently staring into the room, and say, Farah, I know you're busy, but these bandages are really itchy. Could you do something?
Is it in you? Have I used Medicus this day? No,
No, I
someone?
don't think you have. So you could give another Medicus roll and see if we can get some healing on.
Okay, I will. I will do that.
Roll?
Yes. God, I don't know why I picked Medicus with my 9 cunning.
It's nearly 50%. It's all right.
Yeah, 11. John ain't getting any healing. I am far too busy focused on Elle right
Absolutely.
now. I'm like, yes, those bandages look fine.
They're fine.
They're fine.
That's healing pus. Go away.
Yes.
So
I believe you completely.
Yeah, it's Iaso out in the labyrinth, and he's basically calling everyone in for the night in a somewhat derogatory manner. He's probably referring to the the three as bookworms or something. And he's calling says, Mariol, she wants everyone in the camp overnight. No staying down here to study. Gideon kind of like rolls his eyes and mutters some kind of Ambrian curse word and starts stalking towards the surface. Everyone following?
Yeah, I'm going to quickly check that Orel's okay. Was he relaying any information to me whilst this was his entire?
All that conversation with Vardamar, you basically got definitely the sense of what they were talking about and what Orel thought and stuff. He was passing it all on to you. Everyone walks through the labyrinth, which seems to take barely any time at all. Comes to the surface. Almea let's say I'll have cooked up the evening meal for everyone. It's very dark now, kind of the light from the campfires is all there really is, and kind of the nighttime noises are escalating from the edge of Davakar. Is there any kind of conversations or interactions we want to have before the watches start and sleep begins?
We were going to burn Off-Bulk.
You were, weren't you? So I think we can also do that as well. Perhaps after everyone is eaten, a pyre can be built and Alfbol can be laid on it. Is there any detail you want to add to this, or any to the actual kind of ceremonial nature of it?
I think it's going to be pretty subdued. I think the last funeral was probably quite high spirits because it was a good death, but this one's probably going to be a lot. I'm going to be doing a lot of muttering and chatting to the two remaining Varagaldru.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess we would burn him with his weapon as well. Mm-hmm. Seems appropriate. But yeah,
obviously, and Serex helps you clear a bit of a fire break out from the edge of the forest, because obviously, you don't want to set Davakar on fire. Well, maybe you do. A small pyre is built and he is burned. In these kind of close quarters, the smell isn't great, and it washes over you quite mercifully quickly, though, because we're in spring and the deadfall is quite kind of green and damp, and that fire burns through things very, very quickly, kind of the only most of the expedition kind of gathers around. The only notable absence is Yaso, who remains by his campfire picking bits of broth out from between his teeth. You notice Mariol shoot him a kind of venomous glance for not coming over and paying his respects, but everyone else is quite quiet and somber. Okay, everyone kind of has their meal, retreats, and goes in their watch. Unless there's anything else.
Is there a time? I guess, because I think I want to tell the fortune at this point. I think I have a question to ask, so I think I want to just find some space a little bit off to one side, though not out of sight of anyone, and throw the runes and do fortune telling.
Absolutely. Let's say that you find a space away from people that's still within firelight, is probably quite close to the glowing embers of Alfbolg's pyre. And as you kind of, you tell me how you cast the runes. How does Vardamar go about his ritual?
He needs a quiet space. Vardamar sees time as a river that's rushing by, and it's very difficult to get a glimpse of what's down the way, but casting runes is kind of like casting a fishing lure to him. It's just reaching out a little bit ahead of time and trying to snatch some bit of truth from just a little bit down the way before you would ever encounter it, and hope that you catch even the tiniest glimpse of something. So it's very much about needing a lot of focus, casting the runes and seeing which way up and which are visible and what sort of story they tell from there.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you go ahead and do that then, and make your resolute roll for it.
Big money. That's a 14, so that just passes barely.
Nice.
What yes, no question? Yeah, it says yes, no regarding the adventure, but I definitely think it's meant further attempts are only possible when something major has come to pass, potentially changing the future. So I do think it has to be something about things that are yet to pass.
Yeah.
So what question would you like to ask?
Or can I say what is true now or what will happen, I guess, is in terms of framing this?
Given that it's fortune telling and that it's changes when something major has come to pass, I think it needs to be in some way linked to. So it doesn't have to be just purely a question about the future, but it has to be something future adjacent. Does that make like I don't know. I think it's quite a difficult question to answer, honestly.
Okay, that's fair. I'll try and phrase it correctly. Will the spirits of this place try to keep us out or harm us?
No. We have an evening of sleep ahead of us and people keeping watch. Everyone goes to their bed, I think it's safe to say, quite feeling quite tired and exhausted from their day, and the night starts to pass in a sense of eventually in a sense of restlessness and calm. You can hear people kind of like turning over and trying to get to sleep and the like. Gara, you are on maybe the third or fourth watch. And let's say that you are on it with an NPC, shall we? And that NPC will be... let's look here. That looks to be a roll. You are on with Mariol, in point of fact, who is sort of tucked up against the slight cold of the night and seems to be looking to you for cues on how one carries out watches, and is kind of sticking quite close to you and kind of looking around. She's doing her job, and she has like an Ambrian dueling blade, which she has out and she's kind of holding ready, but in a safe position, that like down across her abdomen, and neither of you at first, it's not like something happens immediately, but you just note idly at first, it's getting windy. It's definitely picking up. The trees are creaking. The boughs overhead are starting to rustle against each other. And then, quite suddenly, like in a building rush of noise, not like an instant thing, but a kind of just building roar, like a building collapsing or a tidal wave incoming. The noise that wakes everyone up. A great cacophonous torrent of cries, as if voices are raging in the night, within and without the ruin, but especially without, like the sounds of a raging feral army approaching from outside the walls. A roar begins deep within the earth, a rumbling and trembling like a giant tearing its way loose. And from atop the north wall, you hear it, but like a pounding, but almost like an echoing pounding, like a memory of it being played, or the ghost of the sound itself. You hear the drum beating like a frenzied heart atop the wall, and everyone is awoken by this. Everyone jolts awake, but Gara, you are up, and there you can literally hear like an army approaching the wall. You hear cries and footsteps and the counter bashing of a war drum. You can feel the trembling beneath your feet and the pounding of the kettle drum from atop the wall. What is your first reaction, do you think? Mariol is just looking around her like panicked.
Gonna scream out Varagoldru and try and raise the others and form up with them.
I mean, everyone is already getting up. Are you going to like investigate any of this in some way, or are you just relying on everyone else being there first?
I'm the ranged guy. I'm going to be waiting until someone goes out ahead of me and gives me something to shoot at, I think. Sure.
Let's roll a die then for the next person to kind of be on their feet and see their reaction. Elle. Farah is having a restless night, worrying about Aurel and herself and everything. What is Farah's first reaction?
To immediately check where Aurel is. Is he safe?
He is right by you. He is safe.
Yep, Aurel is safe.
You can see like the whites of his eyes, like staring and bright with fear.
All right, cool. So I'm just going to. I think my next reaction would literally just be to look around, do a very quick head count, see if everyone is present, since
everyone
people have been going missing.
Everyone is there, like either sat up in their bedrolls or like leaping to their feet.
All right. I don't really want to put myself into the. That's
fine. Let's roll for the next. Shuglud. Well, I think Gara will be waiting for you. So, Shuglud, what are you going to do?
So we're camped outside the wall already.
You are, and with just a kind of dash forward and a look around the walls, you could see, like, is there a ghostly army approaching the wall? Like, you could get a better look on the situation.
I would definitely, if it sounds like there's an army approaching, I feel like that would be visible. So I'd definitely just go forward and see if I can actually see anything, or if this is just some sound.
You dash forward and around the walls. Gara is probably just your back. Ull is right next to you, kind of like double axes out, held up to strike. You look round, you can see like the trees are whipping around in the wind, and then as you look round and see absolutely nothing in the forest or approaching the walls, the wind almost instantly dies down. The sound vanishes. No more drum, no more rumbling in the earth. The sounds of the roaring army come to a complete halt, and everything in the night is still and quiet and calm. And let's say Aaron and Vardamar, because we haven't had a reaction from you yet, you're kind of still back with the kind of either scrambling out of your bedroll or however you want to be rousing yourself. You look around and see that everyone is indeed here, and everyone looks terrified and kind of looking around, desperate to know what happened and why did it just suddenly stop. Everyone except Gideon, who is sat in his role quite calmly, spooning broth into his mouth. And that's where we'll leave the session, I think.
I hate him. I hate him so much. I hate everything about him.
Chris hates him so much his cam gave out.
I was so angry I clicked on the on-mute button and stopped the camera instead.
Sure. So there we go, folks. That is the end of the penultimate episode of Fetters of Stone. The next one will be our climax because we've got to where I want to get to. Yeah, next one will be the climax. So that should be in 2 weeks' time. That should be on the 15th of August, unless there's any problem, whether we have one or Fria Ligan has one or whatever. Maybe they'll cancel us for my F-bomb earlier, but probably not. So yeah, if you've got any questions or comments, please sling them in the chat, and Steve, our stream manager, will pop them up for us to talk about. In the meantime, a little bit of promo. So yeah, if you didn't pick on them, we're telling tales. Our Twitch link is at the bottom of the thing below. We run a load of role-playing things. We run on Twitch, and then we put all our VODs on YouTube, so search for us on there and you'll find lots of stuff. We run 3 weekly games, Call of Cthulhu on Mondays, Blades in the Dark on Tuesdays, and we're returning to Symbaroum this week again on Wednesdays, and this is in effect a spin-off from our main campaign with some like side characters, and it's all meant to be part of the same Symbaroum extended universe that we're doing. So check those out. We stream at 8:00 p.m. BST on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And this week is actually a real good week to get aboard with us, because Call of Cthulhu is starting a new story. Symbaroum is starting Throne of Thorns, the big old campaign finally, which I know people are very excited about, and a couple of the people here are players in that as well. So there'll be lovely familiar faces. We also run a one-shot on the first Saturday of every month. That includes next Saturday, where we will be playing the One Ring, which is it's an older system, but Fria Ligan doing the new version of it. It's like a Middle-earth Lord of the Rings thing, and I'll be adapting a story from Lord of the Rings online for that. And I believe Steve has the promo image for that you can flash up, just because, it's nice, isn't it? Look at that. It's all lovely. There we go. So come join us for that. We'll be streaming that at 3:00 BST this coming Saturday. That's over on our Twitch, obviously. Is there anything else for me to promo? That's it. Because usually at the end I forget to promo Fetters of Stone, but I started with that, so it's all fine. I think that's everything. I think that's everything. We got a comment here from Lord Malice. Hey Malice, good to see you. Great session as always, gang. Who wants to go and play the drum on the roof now?
Absolutely not. Not even a little bit.
No, I'm 100% there. I'm
Yeah, I think Shuglet and Garrett are just like, anything we can do to get something to actually fight, we'll do.
Yeah,
I think I was after you were so disappointed during the early part of the session. I was trying to figure out a way to crowbar a decision to hit the drum into my actions, but it was just a stretch too far.
Gara just fires an arrow into the air in grief, and the wind takes it. And
Matt finally gets his set piece.
Sure.
And Farah's just like so done with Paul.
And also, I would like to caution any normal viewers of Matt's games in that you'll notice when he rolls the dice and makes a very ham-fisted job of hiding the fact he's doing something suspicious. Don't fall for that. He is hiding about 7 or 8 other incredibly suspicious things. The guy is an evil machine.
Oh, it's all sleight of hand. It's all just
it's just layers upon layers of misdirection.
Just watch the one head rolling the dice and don't pay any attention to the other checking the chart of evil to see what's coming up.
And yet, in literally every other aspect of my life, utter incompetent.
No, you got to keep
all my points in GMing. So, yeah,
you min-maxed your life a little bit too hard.
Absolutely, definitely. Cool. Any other feedback or notions or comments from the crew here? Because I don't think we've got anything else in chat. Any other? What do people think? What's happening? What's going on?
Who's
the big bad? What's all a misunderstanding?
Gideon's the big bad.
Did someone say wolves?
Wolves, yes.
That would be a plot twist.
Just random wolves show up with no Chekhov's gun whatsoever.
Oh my god, these wolves strangled the goblin to death.
Look, in an infinite universe, the wolves could be responsible for anything. Just by
Wolves Ex Machina is the new title of the series.
I kind of like that we've got. I feel 3 supernatural, well, maybe 4. The bloke on the stone is danger number 1, but I feel like there are groups of spirits who manifest by sight, groups of spirits who manifest by sound, and the story of this army, which has kind of been kind of referenced the first time we saw the drum. This kind of third story that I'm not sure how it's woven in yet. It's very intriguing.
There's this whole pantheon of mythology that Chris is building up. I hope it lives up to it, especially when I reveal the wolves.
Well, the wolves take it all, don't they?
The wolves, they were just playing out in the forest, and they thought it was fun to. They've got these little toys, and they just run and put them on your bedroll because they want to be your friends. And
wolves pulling the strings
Nice.
all along in the
big
background.
The
misunderstanding.
wind is actually them howling.
It's actually then howling. The ghosts you're seeing are wolves who've accidentally fallen into clothing, and they're like panicking and running around so much they're kind of on their hind legs, you know. And
Yes.
See, you came here for atmospheric, but you ended up getting adorable.
Yeah, always the way. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much to my players and to Steve, our lovely stream manager, and to Free League for hosting us here. And we'll see you in another 2 weeks for the final episode of Fetters of Stone. But if you have any desire at all and have enjoyed it at all, please do check out our own Twitch and YouTube and check out our Symbaroum stuff, Call of Cthulhu, and One Ring this Saturday. It'd be lovely to have a bunch of people for that. So thank you so much. Take care. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.